everyone who comes to Tasmania has the preconceived picture of wilderness and clean water and wild animals and big trees, and that's probably why most people come here. There's lots of beautiful coastline and nooks and crannies just like this, and you come around the corner and there's, you know, big boats and these big pens, and the understanding that everything underneath those pens is dying, is suffocating. It really doesn't seem like the appropriate fit. I do not eat farmed salmon, and I don't eat it because I don't really know what's in it, aside from the fact that they're pumped with antibiotics and stuff to deal with living in a pen and not really being in their natural environment. For one, they're not in the Atlantic Ocean, so that's questionable. So yeah, I really choose to avoid farmed fish. Whatever's going on in these pens, whatever's going on in these bays that are quite secluded and tucked away, is not something that the industry is that proud of. If they were, I'm sure they'd be sharing it with a lot of people and actually welcoming people in to marvel at the amazing work they're doing by feeding the world these amazing fish. But that's really not what's happening. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels the exact opposite, actually. Like everywhere you try and get a glimpse of finned fish aquaculture, you're blocked. Something's being hidden there. You know, there's something, fishy about this industry and its current practices.
What you've got is a fish farm industry that's expanded very rapidly and without the science, I guess. And since we've had the debacle of Macquarie Harbour, which turned into an environmental catastrophe and actually is endangering rare species as well, we basically haven't had any proper governance around the industry for the last 10 years. And there's massive expansion planned for Storm Bay, which sits at the bottom of the Derwent. So if you took all the sewage outflow of the whole of Tasmania, you're talking about 4 times that amount going into Storm Bay untreated.
Serious?
Serious. 4 times the total outfall of Tasmanian sewage will go into Storm Bay with the proposed expansion.
What's that going to do?
Well, if you go down and have a look at the Channel region, which is another waterway down this way, you'll go under the water, you'll find the fisheries are stuffed, you'll find it's full of algal bloom and algal growth everywhere. You'll find green slime up and down the channel, and if you talk to people who go back who haven't been there for a while, they can't believe what they see. The government's legislation removes environmental law under salmon pens because everything dies under a salmon pen. Everything's dead.
We've seen this in the surfing world, where we see sort of puff pieces for the aquaculture industry coming out to try and paint a picture that doesn't really exist. The industry has a track record all over the world of being in an area like Macquarie Harbour here in Tasmania, getting everything they can out of that area, pretty much destroying the local ecology and just picking up and moving to a new location. That's what's happening in Chile, and that's what's happening here in Tasmania with the intention to expand in Storm Bay and Ocampton Bay, trying to go to somewhere as amazing and pristine as King Island. And that there is something that's really troubling. King Island has been on my surfing radar for decades. I remember going there probably about 20 years ago as a bit of a grommet and experiencing just the wild nature of the ocean there and how swift weather systems move through that area and how big currents meet right on the northeast corner of the island where the waves are just so dynamic and the ocean is just alive, full of marine life, and the shore is full of beautiful shells and driftwood and just a beautiful alive space. Martha Lavinia is a phenomena in terms of surfing. You have a place that can be absolutely below sea level left-handers one day as the storm comes through, the next day it can be perfect peaks, and the next day it can be perfect rights. And it always varies, but there's not too many places in the world that are that dynamic. And that's why it's so disturbing to think that among all of that dynamic water flow, you would plop this rigid mass of plastic filled with toxic fish that don't belong in that part of the world. I don't think they had any idea when they were pinpointing the northeast tip of King Island for a fish farm that that was one of the most celebrated surfing spots in Australia and one of the most celebrated beach breaks in the world. That's a bit of an indication of the insensitivity of this industry.
King Island has nothing to gain from industrial fish farming. There's not a lot you can do on King Island if you don't enjoy the outdoor stuff, if you don't enjoy the sea stuff. Part of the King Island brand is the Martha Lavinia surf break. The effect on that, the impact on that, which is world famous, will be devastating. But I think one of our major fears is the environmental impact of what industrial fish farming does. We have a strong crayfishing abalone industry over here, very important for the whole economy of the nation, not just King Island and Tasmania. We know that's going to be adversely affected. Every other wild fishery, such as the flathead, the salmon, and the very small fish which are feed for the larger fish, will be affected. So environmentally, our pristine coastline is going to be just a cemetery.
Man, local people on King Island are fired up. You know, you've got over 65% of the island now openly saying they oppose the fish farm industry coming to the island. That's pretty clear. And now what we're seeing is that kind of concern actually being overt and shared with the world. You know, you've got people from America and Europe, all over the world who have visited that amazing island who are really concerned. So the King Island community are not alone. They're backed by us, the surfing culture, which is a global culture, and really they need to be listened to. They're the ones who will have to live with an industry that's trying to push their way into an island where there's a way of life, there's a culture, there's a history, and there's a future that they all want, and it doesn't include fish farms.